You'd think after 53 years on this earth, I'd have learned a thing or two about people, about family, about loyalty. But standing in my kitchen, staring at the stack of unpaid bills and the wedding brochure Madison had left on the counter, I realized I'd been building my life on a lie. Or maybe I'd just been too blind to see the truth. My name's Sam Whitaker. I'm a contractor by trade, calloused hands, bad knees, sunburned skin that smells like sawdust and sweat most days. I've spent the last 3 decades in Cedar Creek, Texas, building homes for other people's dreams while holding on to the hope that my family was something solid, something real. Turns out I was the biggest fool in town. My son, Tyler, he's 25. College dropout, no real ambition to speak of, but I kept hoping he'd find his way. That's what dads do, right? Hope against hope. And when he brought home Madison Carter, this 23-year-old Instagram influencer with perfectly styled hair, lips too glossy for a small town like ours, and a laugh that made my skin crawl, I tried to believe it was love. Tried to believe she wasn't just looking for a free ride. Hell, I wanted to believe Tyler wasn't either. Then the wedding talk started. Madison wanted a real wedding, and by real, she meant a damn show. She had her heart set on the Lone Star Estate in Austin, a venue that hosts weddings for oil heirs and TikTok celebrities. Tyler looked at me with those hopeful eyes, the same way he did when he was a kid, asking for a new baseball glove. Dad, it's just what Madison deserves. Her followers will be watching. We can't look cheap. I asked him how much we were talking about. He barely blinked when he said, 40,000. I almost choked on my coffee. $40,000, son. That's Dad. He cut me off. It's important. This is our day. No, it wasn't. It was their day, their fantasy. And it was my checkbook they were expecting to make it happen. Donna, my wife? Well, she didn't help matters. Sam, we can't have people thinking we're low class. Madison has standards. Her voice was smooth, practiced, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. We'd been married 30 years and I could see the shift in her. She wasn't the woman I'd built this life with. Or maybe she'd never been and I was just too stubborn to see it. I should have said no. I should have told them both to find another sucker. But I didn't. I said, all right, I'll make it work. And that's when I started tearing my own life apart piece by piece. The first thing to go was my fishing boat. I'd saved for 5 years to buy that boat, spent weekends out on Lake Travis, just me, the water, and the quiet. Selling it felt like cutting off a part of myself, but I told myself it was for Tyler, for family. That's what men like me do, isn't it? We sacrifice. We work until our hands bleed, eat peanut butter sandwiches while our families dine on steak and smile through it like it's nothing. I canceled the hunting trip to Montana I'd been planning for years, sold off some tools, started working weekends, 14-hour days, barely seeing the inside of my own house. And while I was busting my ass to make their dream wedding happen, Donna was spending my credit cards like they were Monopoly money, designer shoes, spa days, lunch dates with Madison at fancy places in Austin I couldn't afford to drive past, let alone eat at. Tyler. He was too busy planning floral arrangements and cake tastings with Madison to notice the toll it was taking on me. Or maybe he did notice and just didn't care. Every time I came home, it was the same scene, Donna and Madison on the couch, wine glasses in hand, flipping through wedding magazines, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. And me, I was eating ramen noodles in the kitchen, trying not to think about the second mortgage I'd taken out on the house to make this all happen. If you find this story interesting, please subscribe to me. One night as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I asked Donna, do you think we're overdoing it? She didn't even look at me, just kept scrolling on her phone. Sam, it's what they want. You can't say no to your only son. That's the thing, though. I could have, I should have. But I didn't. I let myself believe that love meant sacrifice. That giving everything you had, even when it left you with nothing, was just what a good man did. Turns out good men get eaten alive by the very people they're trying to save. So I kept working, kept sacrificing, kept telling myself it was worth it, that Tyler would thank me someday, that Donna would remember who I was, that Madison would see I was a good man, not just a checkbook in a pair of work boots. But deep down, something was starting to crack. I could feel it like the foundation of a house shifting under too much weight. And I didn't know it yet, but the collapse was coming, faster than I ever could have imagined. You ever wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding in your chest, like some part of you knows the ground's about to give out beneath your feet? That was me, every damn night. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and yet every morning I'd get up at 4 a.m., pull on my work boots, and head to the job site like nothing was wrong. Except everything was wrong. The bills kept piling up: floral deposits, catering invoices, venue upgrades. Madison had decided the first round of flowers wasn't Instagrammable enough, so she switched to some fancy florist out of Austin that specialized in exotic arrangements. Cost an extra $3,000 just like that. Then there was the custom lighting package for better photos, another $2,000. Every time I tried to breathe, it felt like another fist tightening around my chest. I'd come home late, dirty, and bone-tired, only to find Donna and Madison in the living room giggling over wedding magazines like a couple of teenagers. The house smelled like takeout Chinese Thai sushi meals I couldn't afford paid for with the credit cards I'd handed over like a damn fool. "Dad, you look terrible," Tyler said one night, barely looking up from his phone as I dropped my work gear by the door. "You're embarrassing us." Embarrassing them. That hit harder than I expected. Becca's friends are starting to ask questions, he added, using that annoying nickname for Madison, like they were the next celebrity power couple. I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror as I passed by, hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, my shirt hanging off me like it belonged to someone else. I looked like a man who was wasting away because I was. "I'm fine, son," I muttered, heading toward the kitchen. "Just working hard for your big day." "Mr. Whitaker, you're so sweet," Madison chimed in, her influencer smile plastered across her face. "This wedding is going to be absolutely perfect. My followers are going to love it." Her followers. That's all this was to her, a damn photo op. Meanwhile, I was eating cold ramen in the kitchen while they ordered lobster rolls for lunch. Donna had gotten bolder too. She'd come home late from her so-called book club meetings, always smelling like some fancy cologne I didn't recognize. I wanted to ask her, wanted to press the issue, but every time I tried, she'd look at me with that practiced, exasperated expression like I was being paranoid. "Sam, it's just a book club. We discuss romance novels. You should be glad I'm doing something social." "Yeah, sure, social." One night as I sat on the porch pretending to watch the sunset, Mrs. Delaney from across the street wandered over. She's this little old lady, maybe in her late 70s, but sharp as a tack. Wears a sun hat big enough to shade half the county and has a pair of binoculars she uses to birdwatch. "Sam," she said, her voice low and careful, "I've been noticing some things." I glanced at her, wary but curious. "Your Donna, she's been coming and going at odd hours," she continued. "Always dressed up real fancy, and she's been getting picked up by a dark gray Lexus with out-of-town plates. Same car, same time every week." My stomach twisted. "You sure about that?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She gave me a look that said, "Boy, I'm old, not blind." "I figured you ought to know," she said gently. "You're a good man, Sam. Don't let them treat you like a doormat." Her words stuck with me all night. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a wedding anymore. It was about my whole damn life crumbling beneath me, while the people I loved the most were the ones swinging the sledgehammer. I started paying attention. I watched Donna leave for her book club the next week, saw her check her makeup in the car mirror, adjust her blouse like she was going on a date, not a discussion about romance novels. And when that gray Lexus pulled up to the curb right on time, just like Mrs. Delaney said I knew. I just knew. But here's the thing. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I didn't storm in, demand answers, throw her stuff on the lawn. No, I did what I do best. I started planning. I called up Mrs. Delaney's nephew. He's a private investigator in Austin, and asked him to do some digging. Paid him with money I didn't have because the truth was worth more than my bank account. While I waited for the report, I kept my head down, worked my fingers to the bone, and watched as my so-called family spent my hard-earned money like it was Monopoly cash. Donna talking about wanting a cruise after the wedding. Tyler and Madison chatting about moving to Los Angeles, chasing some influencer dream, like I wasn't standing right there bleeding myself dry for them. I started to feel it, this low burning anger, slow and steady, like coals in a fire pit waiting for the wind to hit. And when that wind finally came, it was going to burn everything down. I should have known it would happen on a Tuesday. Nothing good ever happens on a Tuesday. It was early sun, not even up yet, when I sat at the kitchen table eating instant oatmeal that tasted like cardboard and bitterness. The check for the final wedding payment sat in my wallet heavy as an anchor. $40,000. $40,000 I didn't have scraped together from a second mortgage, my drained retirement, and the sale of the only thing I ever bought for myself, my fishing boat. I was supposed to hand it to Tyler today. It felt like signing over my own blood. Donna had kissed me on the cheek that morning, her lipstick leaving a faint mark that smelled like the cologne I'd been noticing more and more. "The wedding's going to be beautiful, Sam," she'd said, her voice almost too sweet, like honey. masking poison. Tyler's so lucky to have a father like you. I didn't say a word, just nodded, finished my oatmeal and grabbed my keys. The ride over to Tyler's place was a blur of back roads and self-loathing. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I kept thinking, maybe just maybe when I handed him that check, he'd look me in the eye and say, "Thanks, Dad. I get it. I appreciate the sacrifices." Maybe. I pulled up to his apartment, a crappy second-floor unit that looked like a college dorm for people who never quite left. The door was cracked open, and I heard voices inside. Laughter. Madison's giggle, that high-pitched performative laugh she always used when she wanted something. I should have knocked. I should have cleared my throat, made some noise. But I didn't. Something in me told me to listen. And what I heard, "Come on," Tyler said, his voice full of smug entitlement. "My dad's such a sucker. He'll pay for anything if you guilt trip him enough." My breath caught in my throat. Totally, Madison chimed in between giggles. He's like, so desperate to be needed. Honestly, it's kind of pathetic. Who eats ramen for months just to pay for a wedding? There was another laugh deeper. Cocky Jake Morrison. Becca's brother, that damn weasel. At least you're getting something out of it, Jake added. Free wedding, free ride, then you head to LA. Never have to see his disappointed face again. That's the plan, Tyler said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Once we're settled, I'm done with all this small-town family crap. Let him rot in his little house with his bills and his little life. Something inside me snapped quietly. Not like a glass shattering, but like a support beam cracking under too much weight. I stood there, frozen outside the door, that check burning a hole in my pocket. My own son, my flesh and blood, mocking me, laughing about how I'd sold my boat skipped, meals worked myself into the ground. For him. For what nothing. I turned and walked away, each step feeling heavier than the last. The check stayed in my wallet. They didn't deserve it. Not a damn cent. I got in my truck, sat there for a long time with my hands gripping the wheel, shaking. Then I took a deep breath, wiped my eyes, and started driving. Not home, not to a bar, to the Lone Star Estate. The venue manager, a perky blonde named Claire, greeted me with that fake wedding planner smile. "Mr. Whitaker, we're so excited about the big day I need to cancel," her smile faltered. "I'm sorry I pulled out the contract, the one I'd read 100 times since I signed it. Section 14, subsection 3. Full cancellation allowed with 30 days notice, no penalties, refund of deposit." Her face paled. "You have your 30 days notice," I said, my voice steady like I was reciting blueprints. "But the wedding, your family," she stammered. "They'll manage." I spent the next 3 hours systematically canceling everything. The florist, the caterer, the band-in, the photographer. One by one, I shut it all down. Every call, every email I handled like a man, dismantling a house he built with his own 2 hands, methodically, precisely, without a trace of regret. By the time I got home, the sun was setting and my phone was already blowing up. Missed calls from Tyler, voicemails from Donna, her voice sharp with panic. I sat down at the kitchen table, poured myself a glass of water, and stared at the wall. This wasn't about a wedding anymore. This was about everything. The lies, the disrespect. The way they'd used me up and laughed about it when they thought I wasn't listening. The check was still in my pocket, but it wasn't a check anymore. It was fuel, and I was about to set the whole damn thing on fire. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark at the kitchen table. The check still in my wallet, my phone lighting up over and over, calls from Tyler, texts from Donna, all of them pinging like little reminders of how far gone I was. I didn't answer a single one. By dawn, I was done feeling sorry for myself. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. Hollow cheeks, bloodshot eyes, a beard that had crept in because I'd been too damn tired to shave. But there was something in my reflection I hadn't seen in a long time resolve. I fried eggs, bacon, and made coffee, an actual meal. Not the cold ramen I'd been choking down for months. As I sat down to eat, I realized I wasn't just hungry for food. I was starving for something I hadn't had in years, self-respect. The phone rang. Again, I let it ring until the 10th try. Then I picked up. "Dad." "What the hell?" Tyler's voice was sharp, panicked, like a kid who just realized his favorite toy got taken away. "The venue called. Why did you cancel everything?" I took a sip of coffee, letting the silence stretch until he couldn't take it. Dad, answer me. People are coming from all over Becca's family. Her followers, everyone will know we've been humiliated." I spoke calmly, almost too calmly. I heard you yesterday, Tyler, at your apartment, you, Madison, Jake, laughing about me, calling me pathetic, talking about moving to LA and leaving me behind like some piece of trash. There was a long, hollow silence on the other end. Dad, look, we were just joking around. Were you? I said, my voice cold steady. Sounded to me like you meant every damn word. And here's the thing, son. You can't build a life on top of someone else's sacrifice and then spit on the hands that fed you. I won't be your ATM anymore. The wedding is canceled. The money, it's gone. Dad, please don't call me again unless it's to pay me back what you owe. And for the record, Tyler, I'm done being the fool in this family. I hung up before he could answer. 10 minutes later, the front door swung open like a storm. Sam Donna's voice was sharp, frantic. She looked disheveled hair, a mess, eyes wide with panic. What the hell have you done? Travis is beside himself. You've embarrassed the entire family. I stayed seated at the table finishing my breakfast. Embarrassed the family. No, Donna, I think you managed that all on your own. Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. Tell me, Donna, how's your book club still meeting every Tuesday and Thursday at Dr. Ethan Rhodes' office? The color drained from her face. She staggered back like I'd slapped her. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered, but her voice was thin, brittle. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice low. I know. Mrs. Delaney saw you. I hired a private investigator. I have pictures, Donna, hotel receipts, credit card statements, text logs. Don't you dare stand there and tell me you don't know what I'm talking about. She crumpled into a chair, tears starting to flow. But I didn't feel sorry for her, not anymore. I gave you everything I said, and you threw it away for what? A few afternoons at some doctor's office, fancy restaurants, and a thrill you thought you deserved. She tried to speak, but I raised a hand. Save it. It's over. I'm filing for divorce. The papers will be delivered by the end of the week. That's when Madison burst in, all dramatics mascara already running like she'd been crying for hours. Mr. Whitaker, please, she begged, hands clutched together like a child asking for a toy at Christmas. Please don't do this. We need the wedding, my career, my followers. This will ruin everything. Her voice was high, desperate, grating. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor. The look on her face changed when she saw me stand, like she realized maybe for the first time that I wasn't the quiet, easygoing pushover she thought I was. Get out of my house, Madison. But the wedding, there is no wedding. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. My family's already booked flights, she wailed. Then I suggest they get refunds. You can't do this? We deserve this. You deserve exactly what you've earned, I said, my voice sharp and cold. And right now, that's nothing. Madison fled the house in tears, slamming the door behind her. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. That night, I called Maggie Shun, my lawyer. Told her to start drafting the divorce papers. Told her I wanted everything laid out, the affair, the financial records, the betrayal. She told me I had a strong case. I told her I wasn't interested in half measures. And then I did one last thing. I sat down at my computer and started working on the invitations, not for a wedding, but for a divorce party. Same date, same venue, same guest list. Only this time it would be my truth on display, not the lies they wanted to sell. I wasn't just burning bridges. I was setting the whole damn forest on fire. They say when you set fire to a building, you don't always control how far the flames will spread. I sat in my truck outside the Lone Star Estate, watching as the sun burned its way across the Texas sky. My phone buzzed again. Tyler, Donna, Madison, all of them calling, texting, begging for explanations. I didn't pick up. Let them stew. Let them panic. Let them feel for just a moment what it's like to lose everything you thought was yours. The first crack came mid-morning. Dr. Ethan Rhodes, the slick orthopedic surgeon who'd been sneaking around with my wife, got a little surprised when his receptionist handed him a letter. Certified mail from the state medical board. A formal investigation notice. Turns out having an affair with a patient fabricating bogus chronic pain, diagnoses to cover up rendezvous at fancy hotels, doesn't sit well with the ethics committee, especially in a small town like Cedar Creek where word travels faster than a brush fire in August. I hadn't said a word to anyone. Didn't need to. The pieces were already moving. Mrs. Delaney's nephew, my PI, had done a damn fine job. Hotel receipts, photos of Donna and Ethan, timestamps from his clinic, logs matched phone records. Maggie, my lawyer, had everything bundled up like a bomb ready to detonate. By noon, 3 patients had canceled their appointments at Ethan's clinic. By the end of the day, it was a dozen. His receptionist left a voicemail, panicked, breathless about the unfortunate rumors going around town. Meanwhile, Donna was imploding. She called me 7 times before noon. Each time I let it ring until the voicemail picked up. Her messages started angry. Sam, you're destroying this family, and ended tearful. Please, let's talk. We can fix this. No, Donna, we can't. Madison tried her own brand of damage control, posting a sob story on Instagram. Family should support you, not tear you down, she wrote with a photo of her looking tragically beautiful, tear-streaked mascara, artfully tousled hair wrapped in a blanket like a wounded angel. Her followers lapped it up at first, the comments filled with heart emojis and stay strong messages. But then, the questions started. Didn't your fiance's dad pay for everything? Wait, why were you taking trips when he was working? 14-hour days. Why do you keep changing your story? And then came the real bombshell. Charlie Wu, my friend and fellow contractor, posted a scathing response. Let me tell you all about Sam Whitaker. He wrote with a photo of me from 6 months ago, healthy, smiling, holding a set of blueprints. Then another photo, recent me gaunt, tired, standing on a job site, sweat-soaked and hollow-eyed. This man sold his boat, skipped meals, and mortgaged his house so his son could have a wedding. Meanwhile, they laughed behind his back, called him a loser, and planned to leave town the second they got what they wanted. If you think that's loyalty, you've got a twisted sense of family. The post blew up, shared across town, across the state, even picking up steam in neighboring counties. Hashtags started popping up. Stand with Sam, loyalty matters, not your ATM. Madison's follower count. It dropped like a rock in a pond. She showed up at my house 2 days later, her makeup smeared, her voice cracked and desperate. Mr. Whitaker, please. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Tyler's devastated. I'm losing everything. Please, can we talk? I looked her dead in the eye and felt nothing. You wanted to build a brand, Madison. Here's the thing, brands built on lies don't last. You made your choices. Now live with them. Her lip trembled. You're ruining my life. No. I said, my voice low and steady. You ruined your own life. I just turned the lights on. Jake Morrison. That punk tried to swagger back into town like he wasn't drowning in debt. He showed up at my job site all puffed up with false confidence. Sam, man, we need to talk. You're making a mistake. Becca's got real influence. If you don't back down, she can make your life hell. Think about your reputation. I stared at him so long and hard, he started to squirm. Jake, I said, my voice like gravel under boot leather. You're standing in front of a man who's got nothing left to lose. You think you can threaten me? You've got $70,000 in credit card debt, 2 evictions in LA, and not a single job prospect to your name. The only influence your sister has is over a bunch of teenagers who'll drop her the second they smell a scam. And guess what? They already have. He blinked, his mouth opening, then closing, then opening again. You think you can make my life hell? I leaned in, my voice a whisper now. Boy, I've been through hell, and you're not even qualified to light the matches. He left in a hurry, face pale, shoulders hunched. Later that night, I sat on my porch, the Texas stars sprawling overhead, and sipped on a glass of whiskey. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt light. Not happy, no, this wasn't happiness, but clear, focused, ready, because the reckoning wasn't done yet. Tomorrow, the divorce papers would be served. And the invitations for the divorce party, they were already in the mail. It didn't take long for the storm to hit. By the time the divorce party invitations landed in mailboxes, sleek, heavy cardstock with elegant cursive that read, "You're cordially invited to celebrate the end of a marriage," the entire town of Cedar Creek was buzzing like a kicked-over hornet's nest. And Madison Carter, she was the first to get stung. Her Instagram page, once a perfectly curated grid of latte art boutique outfits and motivational captions, turned into a war zone overnight. I watched from my kitchen table, sipping black coffee, as her follower count tanked in real time. 30,000, 25, 20, 15. Comments flooded in like a damn tsunami. Wait, so your fiance's dad paid for everything and you laughed about it. Did you really think no one would find out? This is why no one trusts influencers. Fake, fake, fake. Then came the tags. Dozens of small businesses she'd partnered with, boutiques, skincare brands, coffee shops, started quietly untagging her photos, pulling their sponsorships, issuing statements about reevaluating brand partnerships. Her last post, an attempt at damage control, with a teary-eyed selfie and a long, rambling caption about toxic family members, only made it worse. Family doesn't mean you let people use you as a doormat, she'd written. But the comments turned brutal fast. Girl, you were the one using him. Imagine making an old man work himself to the bone while you sip oat milk lattes. This is next-level entitlement. I didn't post a word. I didn't need to. Charlie Wu did that for me. He shared a side-by-side photo of me 6 months ago, healthy and smiling on a job site, and me now gaunt, worn, my eyes hollowed out by months of sacrifice. This is Sam Whitaker, his caption read. He sold his boat, mortgaged his house, ate one meal a day, and worked 14-hour shifts so his son could have a wedding. And they laughed at him, called him pathetic, said he was desperate. Remember that the next time you think someone's generosity is weakness. That post spread like wildfire, shared, reshared, screen capped, reposted on Facebook groups, Twitter threads, even TikTok. Hashtag Justice for Sam started trending in our corner of the internet, a grassroots movement in a town that wasn't even on the map before this. And while Madison's world crumbled, Travis was finding out just how small this town really was. His part-time gig at the sporting goods store, gone. The owner called him in, sat him down, and told him, point blank, I can't have you here, son. Not after the way you treated your father. It's bad for business. Even the warehouse jobs dried up. Word had spread fast. Sam Whitaker's son, the guy who took his old man's money, spit on him and called him a loser. No one wanted to hire that guy. He called me 3 times that week, left voicemails that started out angry. Dad, you're ruining my life, and ended up desperate. Please, I'll do anything. Just help me out this once. I never called him back. Let him sit in the mess he made. Jake Morrison. He tried to play it cool for a while, but his debts came knocking fast. The credit cards, the landlords in LA, the friends he owed money to once they caught wind of his name floating around in posts tagged with con artist and scammer. They pounced. He skipped town 2 nights later, leaving a pile of unpaid bills and one furious sister behind, and Dr. Ethan Rhodes. The man who thought he could sneak around behind my back, charm my wife out of her wedding ring, and still keep his cushy practice, he was the next domino to fall. Patients canceled, referring doctors, cut ties. His clinic receptionist called my lawyer, panicked. We've lost over a dozen patients this week. They say they're uncomfortable being treated by someone under investigation. Then the hospital board called. Then the state medical board. Maggie Shun had made sure every piece of evidence, the photos, the receipts, the texts, the hotel logs got to the right eyes. And in a place like Cedar Creek, where a man's handshake means more than a signed contract, Ethan's name was mud. Last I heard, he was packing up his condo, trying to sell his practice for pennies on the dollar, and planning a move to Nevada. Good riddance. And Donna. She called. Oh, she called. I let her words fill my voicemail box like poison gum in a sealed room. Sam, please. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I was lonely. You were always working, always tired. I just wanted something more. No, Donna. What you wanted was someone else to carry your weight while you played at being a high society wife. You wanted spa days and nice clothes and long lunches while I worked my damn hands to the bone. And now you get to want all that alone. When the divorce papers landed on her doorstep, delivered by a process server who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, she left 8 voicemails in a single day. I didn't answer a single one. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of bourbon in my hand, watching the sky turn from deep orange to inky black. And I thought about how quickly a life can burn down. But here's the thing. When you clear the ashes, you've got space to build something new. And that's exactly what I planned to do. The invitations for the divorce party they'd been sent. The venue was booked, the guest list was full, and in 2 weeks I was going to stand in front of everyone who'd ever looked down on me, pitied me, or laughed behind my back and show them exactly who the hell Sam Whitaker really was. It was a warm Friday evening when I pulled up to the Lone Star Estate, same place that was supposed to host Tyler and Madison's wedding, only tonight the banners didn't read happily ever after. No, tonight was my night. The parking lot was packed. Cars lined the drive trucks, sedans, even a few Teslas. Folks had shown up out of curiosity, sure, but also out of respect. Cedar Creek may be a small town, but word had traveled fast. Everybody knew the story now, how I'd been bled dry by the people who should have loved me, how I'd been mocked for sacrificing everything, how I'd turned the tables and canceled the wedding. They knew about Donna, about Ethan, about the lies, and they were here to see how a man like me handled betrayal. I stepped out of my truck wearing my best suit, the one I'd planned to wear to Tyler's wedding. It felt good on me, sharp-tailored, like armor. I'd gained back 15 pounds in the last few weeks, eating real meals, sleeping 8 hours a night. My skin had color again. My shoulders didn't slump anymore. Inside the ballroom looked almost exactly like it had when we toured it for the wedding. Same chandeliers, same flower arrangements, except this time the roses were wilted, the lilies stark white like funeral blooms. The tables were set with silverware wine glasses and small picture frames each one holding a photo of Donna entering Ethan Rhodes' condo, her hair done up, her lipstick perfect, her wedding ring on full display. It wasn't just petty, it was a message. The guest list. Everyone who'd been invited to the wedding, plus a few extras, local business owners, church members, city council, folks, even the sheriff. If they knew my name before tonight, they'd know my story. Donna walked in around 8, her sister in tow like a bodyguard, her face pale and tight. She looked like a woman who knew she was walking into a firing squad. Her eyes darted around, taking in the decorations, the photos, the sheer scale of it all, and I watched as her breath caught in her throat. Travis showed up 15 minutes later looking like hell. His shirt was wrinkled, his face drawn and pale. Madison wasn't with him. Guess she'd finally decided it wasn't worth the hit to her brand. Ethan Rhodes didn't show. Of course he didn't. Coward. At 8:30 sharp, I took the microphone. The room fell into an uneasy hush, the clinking of glasses fading like the last echoes of a bad dream. Evening. Everyone I weigh in, my voice steady, loud enough to carry across the room. I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. I know it's an unusual kind of party. Hell, I didn't think I'd ever be throwing a divorce party. But here we are, a ripple of nervous laughter. I wanted to take a minute to explain why we're here, I continued. See, for the last year, I thought I was building something, a future for my son, a life for my family. I sold my boat, skipped meals, mortgaged my house, and worked myself half to death to give my son and his fiancée the wedding they wanted. I paused, letting the weight of that settle. The room was dead silent. And while I was doing all of that, they were laughing behind my back, calling me pathetic, a loser, talking about leaving me behind the second they got what they wanted. I turned and gestured to the slideshow behind me. Images of Donna at Ethan's condo, the two of them smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. And while I was breaking my back to make this wedding happen, my wife was playing house with another man. A doctor, no less. Someone who took vows to do no harm, unless I guess it was to someone like me. Donna's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Travis shifted uncomfortably, staring at the floor like it might swallow him whole. I share this not out of spite, I said, my voice calm but hard enough to cut glass. But because truth matters, loyalty matters. And when you betray the people who would have done anything for you, there's a price to pay. I raised my glass of bourbon high. So tonight I propose a toast. To truth, to accountability, and to the end of letting people walk all over you just because you love them. A beat. Then the room erupted. Glasses clinked, some folks cheering, others just nodding, with grim respect. The sound was electric, like a storm breaking after months of buildup. Donna fled the room, her heels clicking like gunshots on the hardwood floor. Travis tried to follow, but I caught his eye, and he froze like a deer in the headlights of a truck he never saw coming. Madison never showed. Her empire was already crumbling. Online brands dropping, her followers vanishing by the hundreds every hour. Last I heard, her parents had flown in from Florida to drag her home, canceling the lease on her apartment and cutting off her credit cards. Ethan's word was he'd sold his practice at a steep loss and skipped town. Nevada, maybe. Someplace where people didn't know the name Sam Whitaker. But here in Cedar Creek, they knew. Oh, they knew. I finished my bourbon, set the glass down on the nearest table, and stood tall as the music started back up, bluesy, slow, raw, like the night itself. I didn't need a wedding to prove I was a man worth something. I didn't need a family that only knew how to take. And as I looked around that ballroom, packed with people who'd come not just to see the fallout but to witness the rebuilding, I realized something. I wasn't the man they thought they could use and toss aside anymore. I was the man who'd stood up, told the truth, and burned their lies to the ground. And I was just getting started. 6 months later, I stood on the deck of my new fishing boat, a 22-foot Carolina skiff paid for in full. No financing, no debt. The sun was rising over Lake Travis, turning the water into molten gold. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air in my lungs, the scent of the lake, the promise of a new day. Beside me sat Mrs. Delaney, her sun hat tipped low, a cup of coffee in her hands. We'd become something like friends, her and I, two people who knew what it felt like to be overlooked, underestimated, and in the end proven right. Any regrets, Sam? She asked, her voice soft but sharp, like a well-honed knife. I thought about it. Really thought. I regret not waking up sooner, I said. I regret letting them take and take until there was nothing left. I paused, watching the water ripple under the hull, the quiet lapping against the boat. But no, I don't regret how it ended, not a damn bit. Travis had tried to call again last week. His voicemail was the same as before, hoarse, desperate, pitiful. Dad, please. I lost my job. I'm getting evicted. I don't have anywhere to go. I know I messed up. Just help me. Okay, please. I hadn't called back. I wasn't going to. Because here's the thing. Travis wasn't a kid. He was a grown man who'd made his choices. Choices have consequences. Donna, she'd moved to Austin to stay with her sister, the same one who showed up at the divorce party looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. From what I heard, their relationship was strained. Donna's debt was piling up. Her credit cards maxed her social circle, shrinking. Every so often, a friend would mention seeing her at a grocery store, looking tired, makeup smudged the glow she used to carry, dulled by reality. Ethan Rhodes had packed up and left town quietly, his name whispered in hospital halls like a cautionary tale. Last I heard, he was in Nevada trying to rebuild his practice under a different name, but reputation has a way of following you like a shadow you can't outrun. And Madison, she was back in Florida living in her childhood bedroom, working the register at a Publix. Her influencer days were over. Brands didn't touch her. Followers had vanished, and her lifestyle was exposed for the fiction it always was. Her parents, Frank and Dorothy, had laid down the law, full-time job, rent counseling for her entitlement issues. Frank told me once over the phone that they were trying to teach her what real work looked like. I wish them luck. Me, I rebuilt. My construction business booming. Turns out standing up for yourself, telling the truth, and refusing to let people walk all over you earns a man a certain kind of respect. Contracts poured in local businesses, new housing developments. Even the city council called me up to bid on public works projects. I'd hired 3 new guys, good men, hard workers, the kind who knew the value of a full day's labor. Together we built homes, offices, fences, driveways, brick by brick, board by board, a community that stood on something solid. I didn't just rebuild my business, I rebuilt my life. I started going to church again, not because I was looking for forgiveness, but because I liked the quiet, the sense of community. I joined a fishing club, started hosting barbecues at my house. Charlie Wu and his wife came over once a month for dinner, and Mrs. Delaney was a regular at my Sunday breakfast. I was living, really living for the first time in years. One evening as the sun set over the lake, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th, I picked up. It was Travis. Dad, I'm sorry, I mean it this time. I've been thinking a lot. About everything. I know I hurt you. I know I treated you like a bank, like you didn't matter. I lost everything. Madison's gone. My friends won't return my calls. I've got nothing. Please, can we talk? I stared out at the lake, watching the last of the sunlight fade into darkness. No, Travis, I said quietly. My voice was steady, not cruel, just final. We already talked. You just didn't want to listen. Dad, please? I'm your son. You were my son. I corrected, my voice as calm as the water beneath my boat. But sons don't betray their fathers for a fistful of Instagram likes. You made your choices. Now you live with them. He was silent on the other end, his breathing ragged. I didn't wait for him to speak again. I ended the call, turned off my phone, and sat back, letting the quiet of the evening settle over me like a warm blanket. Mrs. Delaney didn't say a word. She just gave me a look that said, good for you. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt light, free. Because here's the thing about foundations. If you build them for the wrong people, they'll collapse under the weight of their greed. But if you tear it all down, clear the rubble, and start fresh, you can build something stronger, something real. That's what I was doing now. And as the stars blinked awake in the Texas sky, I realized I wasn't just building a life anymore. I was building my life, for me. And that was more than enough. It was